So, I normally like getting these out as soon as I'm done with the main series, but it kind of went, like, 3 different times I've done this, trying to figure out what I'm going to say, and every time it's been something different. But, yeah, okay. Hi guys, I'm Blair Chaos, and I guess it's my final thoughts on Minish Cap, right? Again, this is kind of difficult. It's not because it's hard to say, it's just getting my thoughts together. And every time I think about it, my thoughts change, if that makes any sense. So, in terms of story, this game has it. It is bare bones, but then GBA Zelda is not exactly there to have a massive story to begin with. I mean, look at Oracle of Ages and Seasons. Link to the Past, you could argue, doesn't have that big a story either. It has enough for story to keep it going. It's not exactly the most enthralling story, but then it doesn't have to be. Again, it's a Zelda game. You're not exactly there for the story, there for the adventure. In terms of actual locations, I like how varied they are. I wish the Minish Woods were a bit bigger, but I get they're the tutorial area. Mount Kennel is a great contrast compared to the Minish Woods. It's a nice idea going, okay, the adventure is actually beginning properly now. Get up here, that's it. Yeah, this is where the hard part of the adventure begins. Castle Wilds was the preamble to it, just getting started before there, was actually kind of nice in just how different it was. It wasn't about going there and going searching around the area. Getting the Pegasus boots, for instance, was a big change. Then there was the actual Castle Wilds themselves, and they were a pain in the backside to travel through. I mean, you needed to get Pegasus boots to begin with, but they needed the bow, which you need to shrink down to find, which was a bit of a pain. The ruins, getting there, the Wind Ruins. That was an awesome section. I love the ideas they got there where you go inside the armors, turn them on and off. I wish that idea had been used more. Like going inside your enemy to fight them off. That kind of thing, you know? And the Temple of Droplets, the preamble to that was okay, don't get me wrong, I like the idea of the Temple of Droplets. It was a fun dungeon, in my opinion. The preamble to it was a glorified fetch quest. Like, you know, go find the books. It wasn't like, the Castle Wilds, I'll say, yeah, it was a glorified fetch quest as well. Mount Kennel really set a really good tone that I wish it continued, where it was an epic adventure where you gotta get ready for it and climb up the mountain, you know? It set really good precedents, and then it just failed to deliver on them by having nothing really there later on. Like, it came back to form with the skies, don't get me wrong. Above the Clouds was an awesome stage, awesome zone. I love that thing, that's like my favourite place in the game. And then you've got in the backdrop, you know, before that you got the Temple Droplets, which you're basically going around town finding books to return to the library. I mean, you know, it probably belongs in a museum, but still. It's kind of a shame, you know, because they've got 2, if not 3, really great build-ups to actually getting there, and they let it down with the actual results of the other 3 even. Well, I guess the other 2, because you can't really count Minish Woods. The dungeons themselves, they weren't really difficult. The Deepwood Shrine, I get it, tutorial dungeon gets you into the game. Gushyar is probably the most used item in the game, apart from the sword. And the sword you have to use because you're fighting with it. Shame it's kind of weird in that way, but it also showed you a lot of the gimmicks the game will be using, like the lily pads, the fact that you're going to be fighting enemies at tiny sizes, and you can still have a viable threat that size. The Cave of Flames, Criminal Mines, whatever you want to call it. It didn't feel difficult again, and that was Dungeon 2. I mean, Dongo's Cavern in Ocarina of Time. Okay, just a warning, we'll be throwing in like a few comparisons here. The Cave of Flames compared to Dongo's Cavern, it didn't have the same level of danger, if that makes sense. Like Look at the Desert Palace in Link to the Past. That was actually quite a difficult place to navigate if you didn't know what you were doing. And in this, the mines were set up in a way that it was just straightforward. You just had to keep your wits about you. If you kept your wits about you in the Desert Palace, you could still get lost. Dungeon 3, what's the Fortress of Winds? Yeah, Fortress of Winds. Again, that didn't really feel difficult so much as... Oh, I guess I can compare it to the Water Temple. People complain about the Water Temple in Ocarina of Time being really confusing because you gotta keep going back and forth and adjusting the water level and making sure that everything's in the right place and you've got the key and you've explored every single room. It's the same way with the Wind Ruins. I mean, getting the gloves, you gotta make sure you've explored every single room thoroughly. The moments, people don't really think of being a difficult item to get, which is strange, because they're about as difficult to get as the long shot. But the entire dungeon is the kind of built, well, I say built the same way. It doesn't use the same water mechanics as the Water Temple, but you've still got to be exploring every single room. In fact, you're going to be exploring for more secrets. I guess I could kind of compare that to... what's it called? I think it's a Swamp Palace in the Dark World, in Link Between Worlds. Just explore everywhere and you're fine. Then again, Link Between Worlds had its own issues. But, well, you know, that's a tale for another time. Templar Droplets. Okay, Templar Droplets. I like. Don't get me wrong. It's gimmicky, it's really annoying at times. But the puzzles... the puzzles didn't sell me. I mean, okay. No, we'll go into puzzles another time, but in a bit. But Templar Droplets, I like the idea of it. You know, being the compulsory ice dungeon of the game. Is it difficult? No, by any means. I mean, the hardest part is probably the Mantis, or whatever they're called. I call them Mantis, not sure what they're really called. But they are not difficult to kill at all, but they're the hardest fight in there. I love the Octorok, and the Octorok was really just game behind it. I'll cover bosses in a section, but... what was after that? Then after that you had... the Palace of Winds. The Palace of Winds was a brilliant step. It was a step in the right direction. I loved it. It's a lot of fun. It had some challenge to it. It had some exploration to it. And it had a good deal of combat. I love the Palace of Winds. It's probably the best dungeon in the game. Saying that, it does have its flaws. This is a Zelda game. It's meant to have puzzles. The closest you got to a puzzle in the Palace of Winds was probably the room full of bombs that you can't set off for risk of having the whole room explode and setting off that one switch. You know, it did towards exploration though, like going to different rooms and seeing what's in them. Because we got the supply points, we got the... what was it, rubies? Yeah, I got the rubies, got the piece of heart. And then Dark Hyrule Castle. Okay, Dark Hyrule Castle, they really picked up the game. Like, it is a difficult place to... sorry about that. It is a difficult place to navigate. It's a actual challenge. Like, the fight's difficult, even though it's mostly because you're fighting... well, the dark... let's start with the top. Wizrobes, difficult to fight. Set on fire, easy. And then you've got... well, actually, it doesn't really go up from there. It goes down from there, if anything. Because the Wizrobes are the hardest fight in there, apart from the Darknuts, who Darknuts are difficult to begin with. It's... the puzzle... I think the puzzles are difficult, but they are kind of artificially difficult, if that makes any sense. Alright, so that's kind of my theory anyway, kind of my thoughts on dungeons. They're not hard at all. It's kind of insulting how easy they are at times. Then again, this was a game designed to be beaten relatively easily. I mean, come on, it's 6 dungeons in the entire game. The sword upgrade is compulsory. In Ocarina of Time, the sword upgrade is not compulsory. In Link to the Past, you don't need the tempered blade. You can finish the game with the Master Sword. It's difficult, but it's doable. fact, I think you can actually hurt a lot of the bosses with just a normal sword, with parallel worlds and everything to go off. Right, moving on, we've got the puzzles in the game. Any Zelda game is worth its bread and butter if it's got good puzzles. This game, they are insultingly easy. The hardest puzzle in the game is the Room of Bombs in the Wind Palace. And that was more about just not stepping wrong. They're not so much puzzles as they are logic challenges, if that makes any sense. Dark Hyrule Castle had some really difficult puzzles, but it was mostly because they didn't really tell you what they wanted. The 4 switches that I cheesed, I know what you're meant to do there. I believe you're meant to do like spin attacks. I actually do think I got the rotation wrong. I'm not 100%. I wouldn't be surprised. I know how you're meant to do it. I just, don't want to go back there. Actually, that's just a lot about the game. When you can cheese one of the puzzles like that, just put down a remote bomb, hit the other two, south the remote bomb. It kind of says a lot. Deepwood Shrine, I will give credit. It actually is very good for a tutorial dungeon. That's just meant to get you into how the game works. As for Kennel was straightforward. I know it's a mine. Yeah, it's meant to be straightforward because of mines and such. Even then, it's all straightforward. It's like one path. You can't really deviate from it, really. The Fortress of Winds, that was kind of the same thing. Just go back and forth in these rooms. You'll find out which way you're meant to go. It's kind of easy. Temple of Droplets, there weren't really any puzzles in there. The ice puzzles. The ice puzzles with blocks, all you gotta do is look it over once, and you kind of see what you're meant to do. It's not difficult at all. But the only way it's difficult is if you accidentally melt one of them that you need. Not that I've done that before. The Wind Palace. They weren't really hard. They were more just being in the right place at the right time, or the timing, I guess. I guess I could also give a shout out to the Royal Crypt, which technically is a dungeon because it's got the red insignia. It's the Royal Crypt. It's not difficult either. It's literally just go through here. Then we've got the bosses. All right, let's go over the bosses, shall we? The big green choo-choo. Okay, first boss. Awesome idea. Really does show you how something you can beat easily outside can become a massive threat in the Minish dungeons. I wish they'd done it more often, instead of just 3 times where you had something like that. And then one of them was a repeat near enough. The only difference between the green choo-choo and the blue choo-choo is that when the blue choo-choo is electrified, you can't do anything to it, which practically actually lines up with the hitboxes for the green choo-choo. So there's no difference. Okay, probably a bit more health. But then, you've got a new sword anyway. And the Octorok. The Octorok wasn't even that hard. I mean, even on its own scale, it wasn't hard. I wish they'd done more with the Minish stuff, where a threat from your size, your normal size, is a massive threat when you're Minish. I don't know, have a scene where you're fleeing from a statue that's going to crush you. Have something where you've got to climb on top of a monster to kill it. That kind of thing. That would have been awesome. Imagine all the scenes you could have with that. But no, the only thing we really got used for were lily pads. Why couldn't they program in, I don't know, a dark nut Link's got to climb inside the armor of? Or a crow, or Takiki, Takuri, sorry, who's taken Link. You've got to fight your way out of its claws. That would have been fun. Oh hell, Stalfos, we got to take apart the key bones to make it fall apart so you can get out. That kind of thing, There's a lot you could have done with it, and they stuck with lily pads and bugs. Hell, caterpillars. I can't stop pressing the keypad. there's a lot of missed potential with the Minish gimmick. And that's kind of a shame. There's tons they could have done with it, but they stuck with lily pads and choo-choos and bugs. Hell, I can't remember where it is. There's a place in-game where you can see the Minish-sized bugs. I think it's Mount Kennel. You can see the bugs that form a massive threat when you're, sorry, a viable threat when you're Minish. And you can kill them with one simple swing. But not even that. Just touching them. Throw a boomerang at them and kill them when you're human-sized. That's kind of the reverse. You got an easy time against these things when you're human-sized because it's one swing. You go after them when you're Minish, it's two swings. They can't do anything to you when human-sized. Probably annoy you. What else is there? Let's see. The bosses. Okay, let's get these out of the way. Green choo-choo. Nice idea. I like that. It made awesome. It was awesome to see it as the first boss. Just to give you like a contrast between this is what you fight like in the human world. You're at Minish size. Find new ways to kill it. That was awesome. Glee Rock. Inventive but easy. It was more about getting behind it when the rock on its back wasn't hot and to flip it over. That's not hard. I can't remember the name of it. The one in the Fortress of Winds. Inventive idea. It was actually kind of neat to have a boss that you actually did climb into to kill. You fought it at both Minish size and not a human size. That was a nice idea. Shame we didn't see more of it. That's something else. Like, it worked. Why didn't they keep it? Why didn't they do more of that? But they did it twice. And once was the final boss. Yeah. The Octorok. Okay, the only difficult thing about the Octorok is when there's ice on the floor. The idea of that part is to, I think it's like get the Pegasus boots, to keep rolling Pegasus boots torches on at all times, and you set fire to the flower at the back. That's not difficult. That's insultingly artificially difficult. That's artificial difficulty because you've got to make use of how the ice physics work. Gyogpair was awesome. I love that fight. That was actually really good. I think it could have done without the splitting gimmick. Don't get me wrong, I like the idea of splitting, but I don't think a boss needs it to beat it. Or you should have saved it for the final boss when you go, okay, this is the power you've gotten, now go kill him. Gyogpair, I think you would have benefited from doing it more like twin mold. Then again, you can't really do first person. It probably would have done more if you could, like, if you had to fight on a platform and jump on them, instead of you're on one, you kill it now, you know? But I guess it doesn't really fit with the idea of the past wins. I don't know. It could have done with something else. The split gimmick shouldn't have been used there at all. It was a fun boss, though. I'll give it that. The three Vartas. Oh dear. Varti Reborn. Are you kidding? They jumped the ball on that one. You know, this is what the game's been mounting up to. This is the first of the final bosses. And he's easier than the choo-choo. That doesn't make sense to me. It just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. In fact, it's insultingly easy. That's a final boss. It's one of the final three. At that point, you're stuck in the final phase of the game. And then there's our old friend, I think it's Varti Shattered? Varti's Wrath? Whatever. The second last boss. I like the idea of it, but it's gimmicky. It's a gimmick. It's something you've only got to do that one time in the game of flipping it over with the arrow to find out what it is. I don't know how to put it. It's stupid. I mean, why? I mean, the game insists you hit those 4 points. By the way, you have to hit them with arrows before you can go after them with the full sword. don't get me wrong, it's a nice idea that they actually do get you with that, and then, you know, you can't destroy it and go, yay, it's dead! Oh no, it's second phase. Oh well, gotta kill this one now. I get the idea, and it's... I guess, actually, to be fair, every single Zelda game has a multi-phase final boss now. Oh, there's it. Yeah, because actually Agnim did. Yeah, well, it's well on the way, jeez. Then again, using the Force Sword and going, okay, look, this is our power, we can take you down now. You make it more powerful with, there's 4 of us and 1 of you. I guess, you know, Force Sword Adventure is kind of the same way. But I do like how they try and trick you at the end, where it's like, okay, we've got to make it to the Elemental Palace, and then suddenly, oh hey, Varta's Wrath. That was neat. Varta's Wrath. Okay, admission time. First time I faced that, I didn't know what the hell to do. I was sat there for ages trying to cut it up, trying to take it down anywhere I could. I didn't even know, you know, the Cane of Passy, they never, ever show you a point where you can do what you do in the final boss. I get it's meant to show you can flip things, but they never show you that you can flip something that's in the ground. First time I was in that boss, every single time, I was going into Minish form, trying to climb into the arm without it being flipped. So I thought, okay, maybe it's a hidden door. Well, it was in a sense. And then it doesn't really make sense even at that, because you're ripping the guy's arm off. And it's just like, yeah, here's my arm, yeah. You know, it doesn't make sense at all. Like, I guess it would kind of make more sense if you could, like, bomb the arm, where the stump of the arm, where he's put it in the ground. But, like, blow it down a bit at a time until he's got, like, 1 bit left, and then it just blows itself up. Or hell, yeah, get rid of all the blobs, and then it's just a claw. You know, that'd make more sense. That'd be quite neat. And then the final section where you've got to split and you've got to reflect the beams. Okay, let's just get out there. That's just cheap and stupid. It's a nice idea that they're going, okay, look, here's the Force Sword, use its power, take him down. It just doesn't make sense, though. I mean, it doesn't make sense in the bad way, don't get me wrong. It doesn't make sense because, you know, they literally bring that in for the final boss. There's no other point where you can knock beams back. At all. You know, so why? You know, why is it a thing suddenly? You know? I don't know, there's a lot of complaints I've got. The ending, I get, okay? The ending, it's your Zelda ending, everything's good, everything's back to normal. All the world has been restored to how it was before things have gone wrong, that kind of thing. I do like how they actually use a light force, even though it's mentioned, like, once before, you know, it becomes an important thing. In fact, no, it's not even mentioned once. It's like, oh hey, the light force is important. We must find the light force! And then suddenly, oh, light force in the princess. Really? Light force in the princess. Princess now my target. It doesn't really make 100% sense. I mean, why couldn't they mention the light force before? They mentioned the golden light. Okay, they mentioned the sword and the golden light in the legend. The sword and the golden light, which you kind of see in the intro. Well, actually, to be fair, Zelda has got magic powers. You can see that from the intro. Guess you meant to put 2 and 2 together. Oh well. I don't know. There's a lot of things that just don't sit well. I do like how you see Ezlo as a sage. The one thing I don't get, however... Okay, this game has post-game content. Okay, let me get that out there now. You do still get to fight Varta again, and you can keep going to fight Varta. You can keep going to get the credits. Doesn't really benefit you. There's nothing else to get there. There is additional equipment you can get. There are other things we haven't seen. There's other kinstones. Oh god. Okay, this is the biggest thing. My biggest complaint with this game. The Kinstones. Bugger me. Okay, don't get me wrong. The idea of having to find something actually does work. Exploring the world and seeing what these things are. You know, going to actually look around and doing your own exploring. That's what made Zelda. Like, for me, Zelda was the fact that you're looking for these things actively. You're trying to find them. You're not fusing Kinstones and getting told, yeah, it's over here. Like Ocarina of Time, you got near enough paid. It was dividends if you went exploring and tried to find these things on your own, instead of relying on, you know, what you could see. You went, okay, let's go and see what's over here. And then suddenly they go, well, yeah, we're gonna show you where everything is, so you don't have to go look for it. Why? The zones are small enough. In fact, now that's the other thing. I could actually bring up something quickly. Someone actually did a map of the entirety of Hyrule in Minish Cap, and it's tiny. It's. I give this a Game Boy Advance game, and they've upped the graphics. I'd prefer to have a long game with bad graphics than a short game with good graphics. It's my biggest complaint with modern games, that they're too short. I finished Arslan, the Heroes of Legend, sorry, the Warriors of Legend, in one sitting, and that was not even a marathon. That was literally like 5 hours. Koei needs to raise the game on that. Like, we've got Exceed and Falcom. Well, Falcom then localized by Exceed, bringing out Trails. And Trails in the Sky, Trails of Cold Steel. I love Cold Steel. That took me ages to finish. I think I was at like 150 hours when I finished it. And there's still more to find. There's still more to do that requires a New Game Plus. And they're coming out a sequel. I've got to do that before the sequel comes out. Not even a big hurry or anything. I guess I'm still spoiled by Valkyria. I mean, Zelda has always said to me, this is going to be an adventure. It's going to be long. It's going to be a big. You're going to explore. You're going to go see the world. This one, you got to see the world. It wasn't long, but you didn't get to explore. You were told it's here. You were told you've got to go here. That's not what Zelda is. Zelda doesn't hold your hand and tell you it's over here. Majora's Mask, literally. Actually, let's go even further. Ocarina of Time, you were told, generally, where to look. Like, you know, Navi would say, hey, do you notice this? Let's go back to the forest and see how Sari is doing. Forest under attack. Hey, let's go to Death Mountain, there's a fire ring over there. The Gorons have been kidnapped, you gotta go to Fire Temple. Things like that. Majora's Mask, you were told that you had to go to the swamp, the peak, the mountains, the Great Bay, and the canyon. Canyon? Yeah, canyon. When you were there, you had to figure out what needed to be done. You had to go around talking to people to figure out where you need to go, what you need to do, how to undo what the school kid has done, that kind of thing. You would never, ever, it's gone, okay, look, you go here, explore this, done. Like, okay, the Bomber's Notebook gives you a general guideline on what you're meant to do, when you're meant to do it. But you're never told, you're even shown how things in Link and that, but you're never told, okay, if you go here, this will happen, before you've done it first time. Hey, that's why I've got it on 3DS. The one thing I will give this game is the Tiger Scroll. Like, the Tiger Scrolls, we've kind of seen the same idea in Twilight Princess, with the special moves. Like, finishing blow, the roll attack, the helm split, that kind of thing. We've seen this kind of thing before with the special moves in Twilight Princess. It's nice they've come over here. It'd be nice if they weren't as gimmicky as they are. I mean, look at the game. Look at how I did it. Okay, look how I played. I didn't play altogether spectacularly. I played like the average gamer. How many times did I use the Power Beam? How many times did I use The jump attack. How many times did I use the Pegasus Boots attack? I used the spin attack, the great spin attack, the roll attack, and the sword beams the most. I never used the hell beam because I never got down to 1 heart. I'm an average gamer. I'm not an expert. I'm not a pro at anything. But I didn't have to use these things. Like, I think it would have been better if you combined the sword beam and the pebble beam into one, and then make a new one altogether. Something that's not so situational or gimmicky. I know that sounds bad, but it's how I feel about this. Like, you can say what you want about the game. Like, it's a good game. Like, I will still say that. As much as I've got massive complaints about it, it's a good game. But it feels like it's a gimmick. Like, it feels that they made the gimmick and went, oh, this is going to be cool, let's make a game around it. And Zelda just happened to be that game. I don't know. There's a lot of things I could say about this game that just don't sit right. And I like it. It is a fun game when it gets going. But it's not as good as the other Zelda titles. And that's, in a sense, that's kind of, actually not even in a sense, that is disappointing. You will still enjoy this. It is still a good Zelda game. But don't go expecting something on the scale of Link to the Past. Don't expect something on the scale of the Nintendo 64 Zeldas. I don't even expect anything like Wind Waker. And I'm not saying Wind Waker's back, I've never played it. I've never played it. Just don't expect the Zelda experience, I guess. This feels like they didn't know what to do with it, so they just came up with an idea and ran with it. And that doesn't feel right to me. You know? There is still stuff to do in the game. We've got 24 Kinstone pieces to fuse. We've got, about 5 heart containers to finish. And we've got a shield there's a shield upgrade to get. There's the Swordsman newsletter. And there's a couple of other things. There's not much left in the game. But there's a tiny amount of post-game content. I think this is the first Zelda game. No. This is the third Zelda game with actual post-game content. And there's not a lot of it. But there's an insignificant amount. You could actually ignore it and be fine. But the thing is, one of them's the mirror shield. You got the mirror shield way too late for it to be anywhere near viable. And that's the biggest crime I can think of for this game, that it gave you a really good upgrade after you want it. I mean, because you're never going to use it. There's a lot of stuff in this that you just never need to use. Heck, they had to force you to use the moments in the skies. They had to force you to use the Kennel Passy. And that is, I guess, the biggest crime of a Zelda game. Like, every item has a use in just about every other Zelda game. Look at Majora's Mask. It's like, look at Twilight Princess. The rod that lets you control the statues. That was one that I kind of see the same thing. Like, it didn't have a use outside dungeons. It had, like, 2 times the adventure. Like, Temple of Time and then the Preamble to the Skies. I think those were the only 2 times you actually used it. And I can't remember to save my life. But everything still had a use. Like bomb arrows, the visor, that kind of thing. This, it had to force you to use the cane, it had to force you to use the moments. Otherwise, you didn't have to use them at all. I mean, the moments I used for the exploration stuff wasn't really exploration, it was more digging into caves, digging into tunnels, digging that kind of thing. There's not a lot of use for it. The cane we already used to go up the holes. There were few enemies it was good against. Was good against them, granted, but it felt forced. That's my biggest issue. Hell, did we use the grip ring outside of Kennel and Vale? I don't think we ever did. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that could keep going on, but it's a good game. If you're looking for like the big massive Zelda adventure, this isn't it. If you're looking for a good small adventure that you can play on the go, this is a good game. But that's all I'm gonna say about it. So I'm gonna take a break. I know it's been like 3 days since the last one, but I'm gonna take like a week break, and then we'll see where we go from there. Because I have to get an idea of what I'm gonna do for the next LP. I've been Blair Kills. You've been you. Join me again next time for more in the merry land of wherever on this channel, as we leave Hyrule and move on to new pastures. I hope you've enjoyed this LP, folks. Those have been my final thoughts, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Ciao for now.